Well, hello again. Welcome to another Read Your Genes podcast, where we go over your questions on your genetics. So let's get started. A couple questions came in. First one, shouldn't I have been given more recommendations for supplements with all my genetic defects? Well, this is a common misnomer. A lot of people think that because I have a genetic defect, there's a supplement that goes along with that. Well, you're not treating the defects. Make that perfectly clear. There's nothing you're doing that you're treating the defects. You can't treat the defects. That's not what you're doing. When you have a lot of defects in a gene family, maybe it's wise if there's known nutritional things that will support that or dietary things that will support that pathway that you maybe take a nutritional supplement or that you choose to do dietary or lifestyle changes. Dietary and lifestyle changes are always the best. So certainly you're not going to treat each defect. That's not the whole point of doing a genetic test. It's to look at families of genes where you might have a lot of defects that could possibly cause, doesn't mean that they are. Let's say you have double allele defects on everything in the family. It doesn't mean you're still that gene is not still working. It just means you have a greater chance of it maybe not working the way it was supposed to. So those are the ones that I choose. I'm just making a clinical judgment on what I think would be best for you. We're certainly not going to take 50 supplements based upon my genes and think that's going to solve my problems. It's not. We don't want to just throw more supplements at the game. We want to look at lifestyle and daily life changes that are going to support those pathways. How do we get defects in our genes? That's a common question too. Well, you get defects in your genes because you inherit them from your parents. But sometimes genetic defects or changes in our genes are complementary to our environment. Over time, they improve our ability to deal with and adapt to our environment. So some defects are positive. Some defects are because of toxins in our environment that damage those genes. So we can have defects in our genes because we inherited from our parents, and we can have defects in our genes because of toxic exposure damaging our genes. And then we will pass even more defects on to our offspring if we have children after that time. So that's how they happen. They don't go away. Can I get testing for my children? If so, at what age? Yes, you can. There are now cheek swab tests where you could just do a cheek swab instead of having to spit into a thing. In the past, it was like, well, your child has to be at least old enough to be able to spit into that tube. Now you can do a cheek swab genetic test. So basically, you can do it at any age. Is there benefit to doing it at a younger age? Well, yes and no. It does give you clues on lifestyle, but if you've done genetics on yourself, you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on with your child. Let's say if you have a double allele defect, your child is going to have definitely at least a single allele defect. If you have a double allele defect and you're the mother and the father has a single allele defect or a double allele defect, child is definitely going to have a double allele defect. So you can get clues on your children's genetics by looking at your genetics. But if you really want to see what's going on with your child, if your child is having problems, definitely if you need to support their detox pathways and such, that can really help you make clinical decisions for your child. So, yeah, you can do your child's genes at any time. Not sure if DNA supplementation has recommendations on at what age you can start, but I don't think there's, any hindrance of doing children at young ages now with the cheek swab test. Okay, remember to send your questions in on the course in that little blue box on the course. If you can submit your questions, and we'll see you next time.